Let's take a moment to reflect on what it means to truly start and end your day with God. It's not just a practice or a ritual, it's a way of life, a deliberate choice to place Him at the center of everything we do. When we wake up in the morning, the first few moments are crucial. They set the tone for the entire day. Starting with God means beginning with gratitude, thanking Him for the gift of a new day, for the breath in our lungs, and the opportunities that lie ahead. It's in these quiet moments before the rush of daily responsibilities that we align ourselves with His will. When we prioritize God in the morning, we're essentially saying, Lord, I trust You to guide me today. This trust empowers us. It gives us clarity, focus, and a sense of purpose. Challenges don't feel as overwhelming because we're reminded that we're not facing them alone. When you start your day with prayer or even a moment of quiet reflection, you're inviting God into every part of your life, your work, your relationships, your decisions. Now think about how this impacts not just your day, but your relationships as well. When you approach others, whether it's your spouse, your children, or even a stranger, your heart is already filled with a sense of peace. And that peace is contagious. Imagine a parent waking up early, spending a few moments in prayer, and then greeting their children with patience and warmth. That's a ripple effect. Those children like Hasib and Aisha see this model of faith and calmness, and it becomes a part of who they are. They learn to draw strength from the same source because they see it working in their parents' life. This isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. Some mornings may feel rushed, or life may throw unexpected challenges your way. But even on those days, a quick moment to reconnect with God can make all the difference. It's like anchoring a ship. No matter how rough the waves get, you remain steady because your foundation is secure. And so when we start our day with God, we're not just preparing ourselves, we're also preparing the space around us. It's an invitation for blessings to flow, not just to us, but through us to others. It's an acknowledgement that everything we do begins and ends with Him. And that's a powerful way to live. As the day comes to a close, there's something profoundly important about taking time to reconnect with God. Just as the morning sets the tone for the day, the evening allows us to reflect, recalibrate, and renew our spirit. After all the busyness, challenges, and emotions of the day, an evening moment with God becomes a safe haven, a chance to breathe deeply and acknowledge His presence in our lives. When we sit in quiet reflection with God at the end of the day, we're doing more than just closing out our to-do list. We're taking stock of the blessings, the lessons, and even the struggles that shaped our day. It's a moment to say, thank you, Lord, for carrying me through. And also, here are the things I struggled with. Please guide me. It's this balance of gratitude and surrender that makes the evening connection so powerful. Imagine a parent, after a long day of work and family responsibilities, taking a moment to pray. Perhaps they're thinking about their children, Hasib and Aisha, and the conversations or challenges they had with them that day. In that quiet time, they can reflect on how they responded. Were they patient and understanding, or did they fall short? This reflection isn't about guilt, it's about growth. When we invite God into those moments, He not only gives us clarity, but also the strength to do better tomorrow. Evening moments with God also allow us to let go. So often we carry the weight of the day into our rest, tossing and turning over worries or regrets. But when we spend time with God, we're reminded that we don't have to carry those burdens alone. We can hand them over to Him. It's like placing all your concerns in His capable hands and saying, I trust You to work this out even while I sleep. And that trust brings peace, a peace that seeps into our hearts and prepares us for true rest. This practice also has a way of transforming how we interact with those closest to us. Ending the day with God softens the heart, making it easier to offer for forgiveness, even for the small irritations that might have surfaced. It's a way of resetting relationships, ensuring that we don't carry anger or misunderstandings into the next day. For families, it can be a beautiful time to come together in prayer, sharing gratitude and hope. These moments become cherished traditions, teaching children the value of faith and the comfort it provides. The evening connection isn't just for us, it's for everyone who interacts with us. When we end our day with God, we wake up the next morning with a renewed sense of purpose and love. It's a cycle, a rhythm of grace that begins and ends with Him, continually shaping who we are and how we show up in the world when we dedicate the beginning and end of our day to God. Something remarkable starts to happen not only within us, but in our relationships with those around us. Our connection with God spills over into the way we treat others, transforming our interactions and building deeper, more meaningful bonds. Think about it. When you start your day rooted in prayer or reflection, you're more likely to carry an attitude of patience, kindness, and love into every relationship. These qualities aren't just abstract, they show up in real, tangible ways. They guide how we respond to a spouse who might be stressed, a child who needs extra attention, or a colleague who's having a hard day. Starting the day with God fills our hearts, and when our hearts are full, we have so much more to give to others. Now, by the time the day ends, relationships often reflect the wear and tear of the hours that have passed. There might have been misunderstandings, disagreements, or just the exhaustion that makes small irritations feel bigger than they are. But when we end the day with God, we create a space for healing. It's a time to reflect not just on what we've done, but on how we've treated others. Did we speak words of encouragement? Did we show love even when it was difficult? And if we fell short, the evening becomes an opportunity to seek forgiveness from God and from those we may have hurt. This kind of reflection has the power to transform relationships. Imagine a parent like Hasibi and Aisha's mother or father. They're sitting quietly at the end of the day, thinking about the little moments that passed, perhaps a time when they raised their voice or didn't fully listen. In those moments with God, they might feel a nudge toward understanding, a reminder of the grace they've received and the grace they can extend. The next morning, they can approach their children with a renewed sense of love and patience, modeling the very qualities they hope to instill. And it's not just about families. This practice of starting and ending the day with God impacts every relationship, friends, co-workers, even strangers. It's in the tone of our voice, the smile we offer, the compassion we extend. It makes us more aware of the needs around us and more willing to respond with care. The most beautiful part is that others notice. They see the difference in the way we live and interact. It's not about preaching or trying to change anyone. It's about being so anchored in God's love that it naturally radiates outward. And when people experience that love, they're drawn to it. They're inspired by the peace and strength they see, and often they want to know the source. This is how starting and ending your day with God doesn't just impact your relationships. It creates opportunities for others to encounter His love through you, Doc, when we talk about starting and ending our day with God. It's natural to think about how this practice strengthens not just our individual relationship with Him, but also our connection with those closest to us, our family. Families are the building blocks of society, and when they are centered on God, they become sources of love, strength, and resilience. In many families, the rush of daily life can make it difficult to stay connected. Parents juggle work, chores, and responsibilities, while children navigate their own worlds of school, friendships, and dreams. It's easy to feel like ships passing in the night. But when we deliberately bring God into our daily routines, He becomes the common thread that binds us together. Think about starting the day with a moment of prayer as a family. It doesn't have to be long or elaborate. A few heartfelt words together can set the tone for everyone's day. Imagine a father praying for his children, asking for wisdom and protection for Hasib and Aisha, or a mother thanking God for her family and seeking patience for the challenges ahead. These moments create a sense of unity, reminding everyone that no matter what the day holds, they are supported by each other and anchored in God's love. Ending the day with God is just as impactful. Coming together in the evening, perhaps sharing what went well and what was hard, is an opportunity for gratitude and understanding. Families can reflect on how they saw God's hand in their day, whether through a kind word from a friend, an answered prayer, or the simple blessings of food and shelter. This practice not only deepens their connection with God, but also strengthens their bond with each other. For children, these moments become a foundation of faith. Hasib and Aisha might not fully understand everything at first, but the consistency of these habits teaches them that God is always present and that family is a safe space to share and grow. They learn to turn to God in both joy and difficulty, building a trust that will guide them throughout their lives. When families start and end their day with God, the household dynamic changes. Arguments don't linger as long because forgiveness becomes a natural part of the rhythm. Gratitude replaces complaining, and hope shines through even in difficult times. These habits ripple outward, influencing how the family interacts with the community, offering kindness and support to others. This is where the beauty of a God-centered family lies. It's not just about internal harmony. Such families become lights in their neighborhoods and communities, showing others the power of love, faith, and connection. Whether it's offering a helping hand, sharing a meal, or simply living with integrity, the impact is felt far beyond the walls of their home. When we make it a habit to start and end our day with God, the impact naturally extends beyond our personal and family life. It begins to touch the world around us, influencing our community and the relationships we form within it. This is because the peace, love, and guidance we receive from God don't stay confined to us. They flow outward, shaping how we interact with others and how others experience us. Every person we encounter during the day, friends, co-workers, neighbors, even strangers, gets a glimpse of who we are and what we value. When we start our day with God, we carry His presence into these interactions, whether through the words we choose, the way we listen, or the kindness we show. People notice when someone exudes calmness, compassion, and strength, especially in a world that often feels chaotic. These qualities become a quiet testimony, a way of pointing others toward the source of that peace without saying a word. Ending the day with God is equally transformative in a communal sense. It allows us to reflect not only on our personal actions, but also on how we contributed to the lives of others. Did we uplift someone who was struggling? Did we respond with patience in a challenging moment? Did we offer a helping hand or a kind word where it was needed? This reflection isn't about perfection. It's about being intentional in how we live out our faith among others. Communities are strengthened when individuals act out of love and faith. Picture a neighborhood where families like Hasib and Ayesha's begin their day with God, praying not just for themselves, but for their neighbors in the larger community. They ask for wisdom to navigate their roles at work and school, for opportunities to serve others, and for hearts that are open to those in need. Throughout the day, their actions reflect these prayers. Maybe it's a parent volunteering to help at a local school, or a child offering encouragement to a friend. These seemingly small acts build a culture of care and connection. When evening comes and families gather to pray or reflect, they're also thinking about the people they interacted with during the day. They lift up others in prayer, the coworker facing a tough time, the elderly neighbor who needs support, the friend who's searching for answers. These prayers create a sense of responsibility and interconnectedness, reminding us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. This kind of outward focus has a ripple effect. When others see a life centered on God, marked by love, patience, and a willingness to serve, it often inspires them to seek the same peace and purpose. They begin to ask questions, to wonder about the source of that strength. And in those moments, we have the opportunity to point them toward God, not through grand gestures or speeches, but through the quiet, consistent example of a life lived with Him at the center. Starting and ending our day with God transforms not only our inner world, but also the world we touch. It brings light into dark places, hope to the weary, and a sense of belonging to those who feel lost. In doing so, we fulfill one of our most important roles as people of faith, to be salt and light in the world, drawing others toward His love. When we make it a priority to start and end our day with God, something remarkable begins to happen. We don't just see changes within ourselves or our immediate relationships. We become agents of change in the world around us. Our faith becomes visible through our actions, creating ripples that extend far beyond what we might imagine. This is how starting and ending with God moves from a personal practice to a force that transforms communities and impacts society as a whole. It begins with the small, intentional ways we interact with others. When you've started your morning in prayer or reflection, you carry a different kind of energy into your day, one rooted in peace, clarity, and purpose. This shows up in the way you treat people, even in brief interactions. Perhaps you're more patient with a cashier who's having a tough day, or more understanding with a coworker who's feeling overwhelmed. These may seem like small moments, but they add up. They create an environment of kindness and respect, and that has a way of spreading. When we end our day with God, we have the opportunity to reflect on these interactions and ask, did I show God's love today? Did I help someone feel seen, valued, or supported? This kind of reflection helps us grow in awareness of how our actions impact others. It also motivates us to be more intentional the next day. We begin to see every interaction, not just the big, obvious ones, as a chance to be a reflection of God's love. Imagine a family like Hasib and Aisha's starting their day with a prayer, not just for themselves, but for their community. They pray for the struggling neighbor, the overworked teacher, or the friend going through a hard time. This kind of outward focus sets the tone for how they approach their day. Maybe Hasib decides to share his lunch with a classmate who forgot theirs, or Aisha volunteers to help a new student feel welcome. These actions, though small, create a ripple effect. The kindness they show inspires others to do the same, and soon the atmosphere around them begins to change. Communities are transformed when individuals and families make God the center of their lives. Acts of love, generosity, and service become more frequent. Families become pillars of support, stepping in to help others in times of need. A neighborhood that might have once felt disconnected starts to feel like a true community, bound together by mutual care and a shared sense of purpose. But the impact doesn't stop there. When we consistently bring God into our days, people begin to notice. They see the peace and strength we carry, even in difficult times. They see how we handle challenges with grace and treat others with compassion. And often they're drawn to that. They might not immediately understand the source of it, but they're curious. They start to ask questions, and that curiosity opens the door for conversations about faith. It's not about preaching or forcing beliefs. It's about living in a way that naturally points others toward God. Over time, this creates a ripple effect that goes far beyond what we can see. The kindness we show inspires others to do the same. The peace we carry encourages others to seek it. And the love we share reflects God's love, drawing others closer to Him. This is how starting and ending our day with God doesn't just change us, it changes the world around us. One interaction at a time dot when we start and end our day with God. We tap into a rhythm of grace that not only strengthens us, but also empowers us to face the challenges of life with courage and faith. This daily connection builds something profound within us, a life centered on God, one that becomes a beacon of hope and inspiration for others. And when that happens, something beautiful takes place. People notice, and they're drawn to it. They're drawn to the peace, the joy, and the strength that radiates from a life aligned with His purpose. Think about what happens when you consistently turn to God at the start of each day. The worries and uncertainties that might otherwise overwhelm you are surrendered to Him. This act of trust fills your heart with peace, allowing you to face the day with clarity and confidence. When you interact with others, your family, your colleagues, your friends, this peace becomes evident. It shows in your tone, your demeanor, and the way you approach challenges. People around you begin to sense that there's something different, something unshakable about the way you navigate life. Ending the day with God is equally powerful. It's a chance to reflect, to acknowledge where you succeeded and where you fell short, and to give those moments over to Him. This practice of surrender keeps you grounded and ensures that your heart is not weighed down by regrets or unresolved emotions. It frees you to rest and renew for the day ahead. Over time, this rhythm of beginning and ending with God shapes your character. You become more patient, more compassionate, and more resilient. And these qualities naturally draw others in. People are searching for something real, something that can anchor them in the storms of life. When they see someone who starts and ends their day with God, they see someone who isn't easily swayed by stress or negativity. They see someone who has a source of strength that doesn't run dry. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent in your connection with God. That consistency is what makes others curious. They want to know how you stay calm in chaos, how you find joy in ordinary moments, and how you maintain hope even when things are tough. Imagine a family like Hasib and Aisha's living this out. They start their mornings in prayer, lifting up their day to God, and in their evenings reflecting on His faithfulness. The children grow up seeing this as normal, not a chore or a routine, but a relationship. Their friends notice something different about them, whether it's their kindness, their gratitude, or their confidence, and it sparks conversations. Maybe a friend asks Aisha why she seems so positive all the time, or a teacher notices that Hasib is quick to offer help to others. These small interactions plant seeds, and over time, they lead others to explore their own relationship with God. This is how transformation happens, not through grand gestures, but through the steady, faithful example of a life lived with God at the center. When we live this way, we don't just experience personal growth, we become instruments of His love and grace in the world. And as people are drawn to that, as they come running, they too begin to seek the peace and purpose that only God can provide. Life is full of challenges, some big, some small, but none of us can escape them entirely. What makes the difference is not whether we face challenges, but how we face them. When we start and end our day with God, we gain a renewed perspective that changes the way we approach these moments of difficulty. Instead of being overwhelmed by the size of our problems, we're reminded of the greatness of our God. At the start of the day, when we take time to connect with Him, we're given a sense of clarity and focus. We bring our worries, plans, and concerns to Him in prayer, and in exchange, we receive His peace. This peace is not just an abstract feeling, it's a deep assurance that no matter what happens, He is in control. It's like starting the day with a solid foundation beneath your feet. You're not just reacting to life, you're stepping into it with intention and trust. During the day, challenges often arise when we least expect them. Maybe it's a tough conversation at work, a sudden change in plans, or a personal setback. These moments can easily shake us, but when we've started our day with God, we have something to fall back on. We remember the scriptures we read in the morning, or the prayer we whispered as we got out of bed. Those moments with God anchor us, helping us to respond with patience and grace instead of panic or frustration. Ending the day with God provides a powerful bookend to this perspective. It's a time to reflect on how the day went and to see the challenges we face through His eyes. Maybe something that felt overwhelming in the moment now seems smaller in the light of His promises. Or perhaps we realize that even in a tough situation, God provided a solution, strength, or encouragement. This kind of reflection doesn't just help us see the day differently, it prepares us to face tomorrow with renewed hope. When we live this way, people notice. They see the steadiness with which we approach life. They see that we don't crumble under pressure or let frustration take over. Instead, we respond with calm, kindness, and faith. And they start to wonder what's different about you. How can you stay so composed when things are falling apart? This perspective isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending they don't exist. It's about seeing them for what they are, opportunities for growth, trust, and faith. When we approach life this way, we not only strengthen ourselves, but also inspire others. They begin to see that faith isn't just a crutch. It's a powerful, life-giving force that changes how we experience everything. And as they observe this, they're drawn to it. They begin to see that starting and ending your day with God isn't just a ritual, it's a way of life that brings clarity, peace, and purpose. And soon they may find themselves turning to Him as well, seeking the same strength and perspective that they've seen in you, Doc. When we start and end our day with God, something transformative happens within us. We develop a habit of gratitude and trust that shapes every aspect of our lives. In the fast-paced, often chaotic nature of daily life, it's easy to overlook the blessings we've received or become consumed by what's lacking. But when we make a practice of focusing on God, we create a shift in our perspective. one that allows us to see all of life through a lens of thankfulness and reliance on Him. Starting the day with gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to align our hearts with God. It doesn't have to be an elaborate prayer or a lengthy reflection. Sometimes it's simply taking a moment to acknowledge the gifts we've been given, both big and small. Thanking God for the opportunity to start a new day, for the breath in our lungs, for our family, our home, our health. These are things we often take for granted. But when we pause to truly appreciate them, our hearts are filled with joy and contentment. This practice of gratitude isn't just about saying thank you, it's about changing the way we see the world. We begin to notice God's presence in the small moments, the smile of a stranger, the warmth of the sun on our face, the kind words of a friend. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we don't have to what we do have. And in doing so, it opens our eyes to the abundance around us. This mindset becomes contagious. When we express gratitude, it overflows into our interactions with others. We begin to approach our relationships with a heart of appreciation instead of entitlement. And we see people not as obstacles or inconveniences, but as gifts from God. Ending the day with God deepens this practice of gratitude. Reflecting on the day, we have the opportunity to look back and see where God's hand has been at work, even in the most ordinary moments. Maybe there was a difficult situation at work that resolved unexpectedly, or a challenging conversation that ended in understanding. Maybe it was simply the quiet moments of peace, the moments we often rush past without noticing. Reflecting on these moments helps us to cultivate a heart of thankfulness, recognizing that every part of our day is filled with God's grace, even the tough parts. This helps us to trust that even when things don't go as planned, God is still working for our good. This habit of gratitude leads naturally to a deepening trust in God. When we recognize His blessings, even in difficult times, we start to trust His sovereignty more fully. We understand that regardless of what life throws our way, He is with us, guiding us and providing for us. Trusting God doesn't mean we don't face hardships. It means we face them knowing He is walking alongside us. This trust transforms how we respond to challenges. Instead of feeling overwhelmed or defeated, we approach difficulties with confidence, knowing that God is in control. The beauty of this practice is that it's not just internal, it impacts the people around us as well. When others see our consistent gratitude and trust in God, they're drawn to it. They begin to wonder why we remain calm in adversity, or why we're able to give thanks in situations that seem hard. It's not because we have all the answers, but because we've learned to rely on a God who does. And that reliance becomes a quiet witness, inspiring others to seek the same peace and trust in their own lives. Gratitude and trust are not just reactions to life circumstances. They are the foundation of a life that is deeply rooted in God. They become the lens through which we see everything, the good and the bad, the ordinary and the extraordinary. And as we build this habit, it begins to shape our character, our relationships, and our entire outlook on life. Not starting and ending our day with God does more than just bring us peace. It strengthens our mental and emotional health in profound ways. Life is filled with stress, unexpected twists, and moments of uncertainty. And our minds and emotions are constantly reacting to the environment around us. Yet when we anchor our day in God's presence, both in the morning and at night, we allow Him to calm the storm inside of us, bringing clarity to our thoughts and peace to our hearts. This in turn has the power to deeply impact the way we navigate the world, both internally and externally. When we begin our day by connecting with God, whether through prayer, reflection, or reading Scripture, we invite His peace to fill our hearts before anything else. This doesn't mean that challenges won't arise, but rather we are grounding ourselves in something much more stable than our circumstances. It's as though we are placing a shield of peace around our hearts and minds, preparing ourselves for whatever may come. This intentional practice helps us face the day not with fear or anxiety, but with confidence and grace. Instead of being reactive to the stresses of the day, we start out being proactive in our peace. ensuring that it's not the chaos of life that shapes us, but the calm of God's presence. When we take a moment in the morning to reflect on God's promises or express gratitude, it shifts our mindset. We begin to see life not just as a series of problems to solve, but as a journey we are taking with a faithful companion who is guiding us through each step. The worries of the day, whether about work, relationships, or health, don't feel as overwhelming because we've already aligned our hearts with God's truth. In this space, we can prioritize what matters most and let go of the things that don't, creating room for peace to settle within us. Ending the day with God allows us to carry that peace with us into the evening, which is just as essential for maintaining mental and emotional health. When we lay down at night, our minds often replay the events of the day, both the successes and the struggles. In these quiet moments, it's easy to become consumed by our thoughts, replaying mistakes, worrying about what's next, or allowing frustrations to linger. But when we take the time to surrender our day to God in prayer or reflection, we release those burdens and allow ourselves to rest. We can acknowledge our mistakes, ask for forgiveness, and trust that God's grace covers us. We don't need to hold on to the weight of the day because we know that He is carrying it for us. This time of reflection also helps us process our emotions in a healthy way. It's a time to check in with ourselves emotionally, asking, how am I really feeling right now? Are there unresolved feelings of anger or sadness? Did something from the day weigh heavily on my heart? In God's presence, we have the space to express these emotions honestly. He invites us to bring our burdens to Him, and as we do so, He helps us release what is unhealthy and find healing for our hearts. The cumulative effect of starting and ending our day with God is a strengthened mental and emotional resilience. Instead of feeling tossed around by the circumstances of life, we are able to respond with more stability and wisdom. We are better equipped to handle stress, make thoughtful decisions, and interact with others in a calm and compassionate way. Our emotional health begins to reflect the peace that God offers, and this peace becomes evident in the way we live. But the impact of this practice goes beyond our personal, mental, and emotional well-being. It spreads to those around us. People notice when someone handles challenges with composure, when they respond to stress with calmness, and when they remain steady in the face of adversity. This stability is not from our own strength, but from the strength we receive from God. And as others see this, they may begin to wonder how we maintain such peace. In turn, this can open doors for conversations about faith and how a relationship with God can provide the same resilience and calm in their own lives. By making the time to start and end our day with God, we are cultivating mental and emotional health that doesn't just benefit us, it impacts everyone we encounter. We become vessels of peace in a world that desperately needs it. This practice strengthens us to face life's challenges with grace and empowers us to be a source of strength for others. Starting and ending our day with God is not just about personal transformation, it's also about creating a legacy of faith that will extend beyond our own lives, impacting future generations. When we make God the foundation of our daily routine, we not only strengthen our own faith, but also set an example for those who come after us. Whether we realize it or not, our actions and habits leave a lasting imprint on the people around us, especially on our children, friends, and loved ones. Over time, this imprint shapes their own understanding of faith and spirituality. As parents, caregivers, or role models, the way we start and end our day with God teaches the next generation how to prioritize their relationship with Him. Imagine a family where prayer is not a once in a while event, but a natural part of the daily rhythm. In the morning, the family gathers together, starting the day with gratitude, offering their plans and hopes to God, and acknowledging His presence in their lives. In the evening, they reflect on the day, give thanks for the blessings, and ask for strength for tomorrow. This routine does more than just bring the family closer to God. It creates a legacy that will continue through the children, shaping the way they approach their own relationship with God. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not about having the right words or following a set structure every day. It's about consistency, sincerity, and a heart that desires to honor God. Children and others around us don't need perfection, they need authenticity. When they see us bringing our real selves before God, our joys, our struggles, our gratitude, and our questions, they learn that God wants a relationship with us just as we are. This authenticity builds trust and a deep sense of security in God's love and presence, one that is carried forward into their own lives. As children grow up in an environment where starting and ending the day with God is a regular practice, they internalize the importance of faith. They begin to see that their relationship with God isn't just something that's taught, it's something that's lived. They watch how their parents or role models handle difficulties, and they notice the peace that comes from a life centered on God. When challenges arise, children remember how God was trusted in difficult times, and this gives them the courage to do the same. Over time, this legacy of faith extends far beyond our immediate families. Friends, extended family members, and even co-workers can see the impact of this daily connection with God. The way we live out our faith becomes a quiet witness to others. Maybe a co-worker notices how calm and steady we are during a stressful project, or a friend observes the kindness and generosity we extend even when things aren't going well. These actions speak louder than words, showing others that faith isn't just about belief, it's about action and how it transforms every part of life. When others witness the strength and peace we find in starting and ending our day with God, it can inspire them to seek that same peace for themselves. They may come to us for advice, or they may ask how we handle life's challenges with such grace. These conversations open doors for sharing the love and truth of God with others, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond our immediate circle. The legacy of faith we build is not confined to one generation. It's something that continues to grow and expand, reaching the lives of people we may never even meet. Our commitment to starting and ending our day with God becomes a part of the story we pass on, a story that speaks of God's faithfulness, His love, and His transformative power. That story is told not only through words, but through the lives we live and the example we set. In a world that often seems focused on temporary successes and fleeting happiness, a legacy of faith offers something far more lasting. It offers hope, stability, and a purpose that endures. And when we start and end our day with God, we're not just shaping our own lives, we're shaping the future, one day at a time, one prayer at a time. This is the true power of creating a legacy of faith.